Hey, everybody, and welcome to Truman's Town Hall.
Welcome to Truman's Town Hall with your host, Matt Truman.
That's right, I am Matt Truman. This is Truman's Town Hall. Got a couple news stories. We're going to try to get out of here in about 15 to 30 minutes. That's my goal each and every time. So, without further ado, let's bring up the first story of the evening. Biden dismisses concerns about mental fitness, says he'd drop out if the Lord Almighty told him to do so. So that's pretty interesting, right? Uh he's he's only going out if the Lord says so. And so let's see what this has to say
to you physically, mentally, emotionally.
Well, I just think it cost me a really bad night, bad run. But George, I'm optimistic about this country. I don't think we're a country of losers, that he points out. I don't think America's in tough shape. I think America's on the cusp of breaking through in so many incredible opportunities. This next term, I'm going to make sure we have straighten out the tax system. I'm going to make sure we're in a situation where we have health care for all people, or we're in a position where we have child care and elder care, free up, and all these things. One thing I'm proudest of is remember when my economic.
All right. So that's just a bit of what Biden says. I don't know. What do you think, folks? I think he's going to be pressured to get out because there's a lot of other news stories, and folks have been saying this for a long, long time, a long, long time, that Biden's going to get out, and somebody like Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama is going to step in. They've been saying that for a long time, and folks over on the mainstream media side have said, no, this isn't going to happen. There's no way this is going to happen. So now they're saying a bit of a different tune, like this one. This is Yahoo News. This is Dems try Harris on for size. Look at that. We've now seen President Joe Biden's first interview since he drove his campaign into a ditch in last weekend's presidential debate. Folks, that ditch was driven into a long, long time ago. Let's be honest. That that happened a long time ago. Let's play a video of RFK Jr. talking about Joe Biden, and I'll just bring this up real quick. This is from Chef Nerd. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the debate revealed what the media has been hiding. What happened the other night at the debate was that a lot of Americans finally understood what the media has been hiding, which is the executive of our country is probably not running. We're going to X, it looks like. It's probably not running our country. The most adamant supporters of Biden in my family were using the word embarrassing. So let's listen in. All right.
90 minutes, which is, anybody can have a bad 90 minutes. But if that's true, then he needs to dispel that very aggressively, not just with a single interview on CBS to a very, very friendly reporter, George Stephanopoulos, by coming out and doing unscripted events without teleprompters, talking to voters, doing town halls, doing debates with people who are going to challenge him so that Americans can actually assess whether he's capable of running the country. His insistence that he's okay and the insistence of this close coterie that surrounds him and his personal doctor should not be convincing to anybody. He needs to.
Is it convincing to your family, Robert? Is it convincing to your family? Overwhelmingly, your fellow family members, your sisters and brothers, and extended family are supporting Joe Biden. If he steps out of the race, is it possible that they throw their support behind you?
I don't know. I haven't talked to them about it. I know, the only thing the only feedback I've got is, and I'm going to be at the Cape next weekend with a lot of them. But on the family listserv, people were very, very disturbed. The most adamant supporters of Biden in my family are, we're saying this is using the word embarrassing, and how
none of them knew that he had these
was.
issues before, Robert? Was this all a surprise to them? That we've seen signs of this before. Do you think they were that well hidden from even, your own family members who presumably are quite close to the president?
Well, I mean, they're close to the president, meaning that they like him. They don't spend a lot of time with him nowadays since he was elected president. So, and for me, I was watching his performance on, all these other debates, which are recycled, all of the gaffes that he was making, and the falls and the blank stares that are circulated on YouTube and then sent to my phone. I don't know if the algorithms send them to their phones, so I don't know what they were seeing and what they weren't seeing. But because of the kind of things that I look at YouTube, I was getting a lot of those, and it was really obvious to me that there was a problem. But I suppose you could live in a universe where none of that stuff becomes visible to you, and I don't know where they're living. And incidentally, there are a lot of family members who are supporting my campaign, but the ones who are close in my family, which is the children of Robert Kennedy,
All right. So we'll end it there. That was RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., talking about some of his family members being discouraged about Biden. Well, they had a choice. They could have brought in RFK Jr. to run against Trump, and I think Trump would have had a very difficult time running against a Democrat RFK Jr. versus RFK Jr. third party candidate. That's just me. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. I'll throw your comments up here if you want to comment while we're live. Next up, I'm going to play something that I like to play a lot. It's who is the guy? Doggone, I play him all the time. Greg Reese from the InfoWars fame, right? Love it or hate it. Greg Reese does a bang-up job, folks. He does. He really does. And his reporting is spot on a lot of times. So let me get this report going. I'm going to let you guys check it out. Here we go. Full screen.
In Trump versus United States, the Supreme Court ruled that the president and former presidents may not be prosecuted for exercising core constitutional powers and are entitled to a presumptive immunity from prosecution for all official acts. The justices ordered the lower courts to apply this decision to the Donald Trump case being led by Jack Smith. In City of Grants Pass versus Johnson, the enforcement of generally applicable laws regulating camping on public property does not constitute cruel and unusual punishment prohibited by the Eighth Amendment. The Supreme Court has ruled that the law which disallows people from sleeping on public streets can be enforced against the homeless population. In Fisher versus United States, the Supreme Court has ruled that the key charge used to prosecute and sentence hundreds of Americans for walking through the U.S. Capitol building on January 6th, obstruction of an official proceeding, does not apply, which likely means freedom for many American political prisoners. In Loper Bright Enterprises versus Raimondo, the Supreme Court overturned a 40-year-old case called Chevron that granted radical levels of power to federal agencies. Spike Cohen, at Real Spike Cohen, explains this case and its importance. A family fishing company, Loper Bright Enterprises, was being driven out of business because they couldn't afford the $700 per day they were being charged by the NMFS, the National Marine Fisheries Service, to monitor their company. The thing is, federal law doesn't authorize the NMFS to charge businesses for this. They just decided to start doing it in 2013. Why did they think they could get away with just charging people without any legal authorization? Because in 1984, in the Chevron decision, the Supreme Court decided that regulatory agencies were the experts in their field, and the court should just defer to their interpretation of the law. So for the past 40 years, federal agencies have been able to interpret laws to mean whatever they want, and the courts had to just go with it. It was called Chevron deference, and it put bureaucrats in charge of the country. It's how OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, was able to decide that everyone who worked for a large company had to get the jab or be fired. No law gave them that authority. They just made it up. It's how the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, was able to decide a piece of plastic was a machine gun. It's how the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, the NRCS, is able to decide that a small puddle is a protected wetland. It's how out-of-control agencies have been able to create rules out of thin air and force you to comply. And the courts had to simply defer to them because they were the experts. Imagine if your local police could just arrest you for any reason, and no judge or jury was allowed to determine if you'd actually committed a crime or not. Just off to jail you go. That's what Chevron deference was. It was not only blatantly unconstitutional, it caused immeasurable harm to everyone. Thankfully, it's now gone. We haven't even begun to feel the effects of this decision in the courts. It will be used for years to come to roll back federal agencies, and we'll all be better off for it. And that's why politicians and corporate media are freaking out about it. Spike Cohen. In an era of bad news, the U.S. Supreme Court has brought us some good tools that we, the people, can wield to work on restoring America. Happy Independence Day. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
So these wars aren't meant to be won; they're meant to be ongoing. They had a peace agreement, you know that they had a peace agreement almost immediately after the invasion. Russia invaded. They had a peace agreement, and the Ukraine agreed to it. Zelensky agreed to it, and they flew Boris Johnson out there and said, "Don't you can't do this, or we're going to kill you." And so he did. That's why he can't do it. And so that's why this war is ongoing, and they have to rip people off corners and put them in vans to go fight in this fucking war. The average age of
Sorry, guys. I just realized that I was on mute for half that time. If you watch the Sunday show, I'm on mute quite a bit. Now I need to get that figured out. Anyway, here it is.
the Ukraine military is over. These wars aren't meant to be won; they're meant to be ongoing. They had a peace agreement, you know that they had a peace agreement almost immediately after the invasion. Russia invaded. They had a peace agreement, and the Ukraine agreed to it. Zelensky agreed to it, and they flew Boris Johnson out there and said, "Don't you can't do this, or we're going to kill you." And so he did. That's why he can't do it. And so that's why this war is ongoing, and they have to rip people off corners and put them in vans to go fight in this fucking war. The average age of the Ukraine military is over 40 years old.
Have you seen the videos of guys getting kidnapped?
I can't even watch it.
Guys with their families, they grab a guy.
They just grab him,
and people are screaming. They're throwing him in a van. You're going to go fight in a war.
I think you lost the war when we already did. So they did. So, and then of course nobody knows how this war started. You've had Dave Smith on; he explained it.
Yeah.
You know, nobody still to this day knows about the Maidan coup, that the United States got in bed with right-wing Nazis in Ukraine to overthrow a democratically elected government, and then they started bombing the people in the east of Ukraine, called the Donbass, and they wouldn't stop. They had two peace agreements called the Minsk Accords. Guess who violated them? That Ukraine. It wasn't that, and so. I've heard people say that, and then of course it was the expansion of NATO, right? The threat of putting NATO on the border of Russia, which everybody from Kissinger to Chomsky and everybody in between said, that's a mistake. Don't do that. But that's of course what they're doing. And so what's the point of NATO anymore? And then this whole idea, they're doing the domino theory again. Oh, well, if we allow him to do this to Ukraine, he's going to go to Poland next. And it's the same fucking shit they said all the time. It's the domino theory. And again, the world's terrorists are the United States. Look what we did to Iraq. Look what we did to Libya. Libya, the most successful country in all of Africa. The guy created the eighth wonder of the world with the way how he delivered water and turned deserts into farmland. And everybody had a house and everybody had education and healthcare. And we turned it into a failed state run by terrorists with open slave markets. Who did that? Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton did that. And they'll never have to pay a price for that. Barack Obama, the most they'll do is go, nope, that was a mistake.
But why did they get rid of Gaddafi?
Because he was going to start a currency of Africa that was going to compete with the U.S. dollar and the euro. And they can't have that because the way the United States controls the world is because the United States dollar is the reserve currency of the world. So that's why they can put sanctions on all these countries. And so what they're doing, which they shouldn't do, they're weaponizing the U.S. dollar. And so like when countries want to trade with each other, they have to go take their currency, change it into U.S. dollars so they can trade. And a lot of it was based on the petrodollar, which, by the way, Saudi Arabia just quit. They didn't renew it. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
So, and all of a sudden, CBS News is starting to do news stories about how Saudi Arabia was involved in 9/11. All of a sudden, 24 years later, all of a sudden, oh, you know what? Turns out there was something happened. And they're like, you mean 2 weeks after they decided to not renew the fucking petrodollar? Now CBS News is allowed to talk about that and investigate it, which when I talked about it, got demonetized. But anyway, so that's why, because Gaddafi was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to set up a currency for all of Africa, and it was going to be based on have a gold standard. And so they're like, no, you're not. You're not fucking doing that. And they made up a bullshit thing like, we got to save the people. Whatever. You guys, they don't give a fuck about the people in America. They got veterans and everybody else living under every goddamn bridge in this country. You think if they gave a shit about those people, don't you think they'd start helping the people right outside the front door?
Right.
Instead of, no, we got to go help people in Libya, and we got to help people. It's about helping people in Ukraine, and it's about helping people in Taiwan, and it's about this is all about an upward transfer of money. This is about balkanizing countries and turning it over to BlackRock and Vanguard. That's what this is about.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back.
Epic rant. That was Jimmy Dore. He does a show on YouTube, Rumble, I think, a lot of different places. I'm just going to flow up through this a little bit, and then we'll get out of here. This is Christian Lamar. I posted this earlier. I just saw it. It says, I was just expelled as the only black Republican from Arizona GOP Executive Committee by rhinos and Arizona's GOP LD24 supporting President Trump, signing up 285 new Trump precinct committeemen and holding the Republican Arizona state legislature accountable for allowing 2020 and 2022 stolen. We'll just listen in just a little bit and see what he's saying.
Going through October 2024 of this year. And so, once again, as the only black Republican on the AZ GOP Executive Committee, I have been expelled tonight. Why was I expelled? Because I support President Trump, because I signed up 285 precinct committeemen, because I held the Republican AZ state legislature accountable for allowing the 2020 and 2022 stolen elections. And as the Republican AZ state legislature has not protected the elections, we are entering 2024 without any protections for our elections. And so that's what's happened tonight.
All right, check his page out, folks. We're on YouTube, so I don't know if they'll kick us off for him talking about that, but I don't really care. Kick me off. Oh well. We still got Rumble and X, right? Yeah. Ben Swan, that's only a minute. Let's check Ben Swan out. He used to be down here in Cincinnati. Ben Swan did. That's where I first found out about Ben Swan, was in Cincinnati. Now who knows where he's at.
We showed you that the party was approved last minute, despite multiple warnings of a violent incursion from Gaza. And we've discussed how days before the festival, 2 entire brigades of soldiers were taken away from the area of the Gaza border and then sent to the West Bank. And you might think that immediately upon receiving information of a devastating attack on partygoers, military authorities would alert units to immediately exit their bases, race to the site of the conflict, and go on the counterattack, right? But that's not what happened. Haaretz reported, quote, at 7 a.m., the party organizer called Lieutenant Colonel Elad Zandani, the man tasked with approving the festival, and told him that terrorists were shooting the partygoers. He suggested that they fend for themselves. The first IDF forces arrived at the party scene at 3 p.m. That's 8 hours for a response time for one of the most efficient, capable, and well-militarized security forces in the world, operating in a country the size of New Jersey, with their Gaza division only a few miles away.
Wow, folks. Wow. That is nuts. I mean, when you really look at it, like, one day I hope to visit Israel because I think it's something all Christians should do, but doggone, man. There's going to be a lot coming out about that. Check this guy out, and then we'll bounce. But look at this guy, HOA president.
Yo, don't touch my rod. Don't fucking touch my rod. It's passing on private.
These are kids trying to fish in a pond. In my neck of the woods, we have a little pond out here, and there's no fishing signs, and there's people fishing in it, and I love it, and I tell them I love it. Hey, keep fishing this pond.
Private property. Don't threaten us. You're trespassing on private property, young man. We're waiting for the police to come. You don't need to get out of here. Leave. No, we're going to talk to them. Leave. We're going to talk to them. You threatened us. He's our president. You threatened us. To go in the lake, young man?
He's our president. He's the HOA president. Big deal.
Back away from him. Back away
out of here.
Back up.
Test me.
Back up from me. Back up from me.
Get out of here.
Back up from me.
Why'd I take that phone and put it in the lake?
Yeah, now I'll press charges.
For what?
Like assault, what?
For what?
Assault.
Yeah, I'm not assaulting you. Get out of here.
We're just going to wait. We're not going to mess with anything.
Get out of here. You're fishing in a private lake. Get the hell out of here.
Wow. Make that guy famous.
We showed you.
All right. Anyway, whoa. Look at that. Truman's. This is the live we're doing right now. Truman's Town Hall check us out on the Twitters. Hope everybody's learned something tonight. It's about 26 minutes. I'm going to take off. Thanks, everybody, for watching tonight, and thanks for everybody for watching later. Tomorrow, we'll be right back here at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our regular Bible study. Rooster, Doc, and friends. And we're going to go over Romans chapter 5, I believe. So if you're not watching Shark Week with John Cena, come check us out. Excuse me, right? It's live, folks. I screwed up. I was on mute. It all happens live here on Truman's Town Hall. And I'll see you next week right here at 10 p.m. on Saturday, 8:45 on Sunday for the Bible study. Talk to you.